we look at all these definitions. It ends up bringing us to the context of the just ended celebration of the International Labour Day, which was celebrated across Cameroon and the world at large. Across major divisions and regions, celebration of the International Labour Day actually went on smoothly, with many brilliant speeches made by different stakeholders, made by governments across Africa and made by officials of government in Cameroon, and also those made by trade unions experts and those made by representatives of workers' association. With summing up all this situation, many said the speeches were all good. They have come and they have gone. But what is the impact of those who are working within the private and the state sector of our nation, Cameroon? Twice the salary of government workers have been increased. Don't ask me about the proportion of the increment, but at least there have been a significant increment in the salaries of government workers. And the first time that was done, the Prime Minister's office had said the Prime Minister would discuss with proprietors and private sectors holders to see how they can have a meeting and see how they can mitigate in a way that they can increase the salary of private workers. This may be in the terms of tax holiday or reduction or whatever means. Now, the second time when salaries were actually increased again from the government sector owing to the increment of fuel prices, the same pledge were made that those in the private sector, they will look into their situation. But we are counting. Years have gone by as we celebrated Labour Day. The question that is in the minds of those of us who are working in the private sector and those who are working heavily in the private sector, which has the greatest amount of employed individuals, how best are their interests being represented by those who ought to speak on their behalf, when some of them, especially those in some industries who doesn't have contracts as their take-home package, can barely take them halfway for them to trek? That when and how will this discussion be held where their increment of salary can be done as the same way that of government sector has been done? In all fairness, we are looking at the working condition of workers in Cameroon. How best and how better should working conditions be in Cameroon? After the celebration of the International Labour Day, what must be done to ensure good working condition of workers, and also what is the responsibility of workers in terms of their individual corporation and companies and the state at large? There is a tendency that when we talk about labor, we tend to look at the employer, but many fail also to ask themselves, the employee, what is the duty also of the employee towards the growth of that company? Because the employee has a greater stake in making sure that the company actually move on better, grow better, such that the company can now in turn obtain profit and give a better working condition. In all of these, brilliant speeches have come and gone. What next within those who are working in Cameroon for the formal and the informal sector? This is House of Commons with me, Tah Mai Javis. We shall also be looking at 5 months to go for the presidential election. We are counting, we are now in May. May, June, July, August, September. 5 months to go for the presidential election. What next? What have been done so far to encourage voters registration? How are voters being educated to make sure that they make the right choices? These will be as part of our discussion today. I want to wish happy Labour Day in arrears to the management of BT Media Group and of course the entire BT Media crew. It has been a very good working experience and good condition for us here at the BT Media Group. I want to say thanks to the management, Madam Zenabu Tambe, and also want to thank you, Mr. Kum Leonard, and all the crew, and of course Mr. Tambe Bryant for making sure that we at BT Media Group actually feel a better working condition as compared to what we see in other places within Cameroon. With that in mind, in the studio, we have our cream of panelists with whom we are going to discuss on today's edition of our program. Kedia Robert Malanfe is a communicant of the Cameroon People's Democratic Movement. He is a specialist in political analysis and someone that mastered the deontology of political science in the nation and Africa and the world at large. He's here with us to talk about the issue which we shall be discussing, about the issue of labor. Kedia Robert Malanfe, thanks for joining us on Happy Sunday.
Same to you. Greetings to you at well, and greetings to my co-panelists. Greetings to all Cameroonian, especially the people of Bamising and the rest of the nation, and even beyond that, we're following this program. And of course, the greatest appreciation or thanks go to the head of state, the president of the republic, which I believe he will be following up this debate. It is, of course, a pleasure for me to be here.
Okay, and of course, I want to thank you. He's the #1 employer.
Of course.
The #1 worker.
Of course, of course. You know, as the head of state, he's the #1 servant that is there to serve the nation. And of course, he's the #1 employer that ensures that Cameroonians should be recruited and have a job. You remember, having a job is a fundamental human right, which the state, of course, is trying its best so that everyone will be employed.
In the studio, we are also joined by a presidential aspirant who is very, very, very active as far as Cameroon politics is concerned. He holds the view that what must change in Cameroon, if Cameroon must change, it must come with communism, and this must be done in a way that the state actually regulate some of the excesses being done at the level of rentage of houses. He said that landlords should be put in check in such a way that they should not put exorbitant rent on those who can barely survive, and also is of the opinion that if he wins the presidency this 2025, he will ban the production of beer and alcoholic content in Cameroon. That has resonated in the minds of youth in around the social media, as there have been much debate about it. Many are saying that if it is banned, what becomes of the business side of it? That he shall answer, as he is here with us. Also, he holds a strong view that our medical system must be revolutionized to meet up with the modern day practices that will not just be there to save life, but we will also there to ensure that those within Cameroon actually benefit from what is termed a medical system where Cameroonians live far above the life expectation which many hold it. In the level of judicial, he also believes that the judicial system must be kept in check to be the last hope of the common man and not just the last hope of the privileged few who are within the system. He is Dr. Barrister Asong Michael. He is a medical doctor and a lawyer called to bar. So don't just think it's a doctor, as many will say doctor like we get from the quarter. Many people identify themselves as doctor. He is actually a professional. Dr. Barrister Asong Michael, thanks for joining us on Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday, Mr. Tah Javis. Thank you for making me part of your panel. I would like to also salute all my fellow Cameroonian citizens in Cameroon and the diaspora. I see this opportunity, Mr. Tah Javis, to wish you in particular a happy World Press Day, and not only to you but to all actors in the sector of communication. I think people have been doing an extraordinary job by making sure that the population at whole gets access to information, and information that will help us construct and build this nation. I also like to seize the opportunity to wish a happy Labour's Day to all Cameroonians, even though I strongly believe that this Labour Day is supposed to be a mourning day and not a day of celebration, because we are lacking in so many things, which I strongly believe that we shall be discussing on this panel today. Thank you very much for having me here, and also good afternoon to my fellow panelists.
Thank you very much, Dr. Barrister Song, who has created a kind of debate online, which many are saying that how will you promise to ban the sales of beer and alcohol across the entire region? Some social media user said, when things are down, we go and get alcohol. When you ban it when things are down, how will we get solace, and what are we going to do to console ourselves? when things are down. And also, when he said that, I was thinking that when you come to the program, I will ask you about some of the concerns that many raise about that. Some also said that how will you ban what becomes of the business side of those who are doing business and the employment that the alcohol industry is getting, that what of those countries that may need our alcohol, what will you do about the situation? And I said, I don't have answers. I'll get to Dr. Barrister Asong to talk about that. Maybe I'll begin with you, Kedia Robert Malamfe, before I introduce the other member of our panel. This issue about, I'll begin with you before I introduce the other members of our panel. The issue I want to begin with you is about the issue of Press Freedom Day. Yesterday we just celebrated the World Press Freedom Day in the World International Day of Press Freedom. How will you ascertain or look at the state of Cameroon's press freedom as a political analyst?
Based on the statistics that was given by the Minister of Communication, with over 200 radio stations and TV stations that have been put in place, and of course the influence of the social media, you know, and everybody has the right to freedom of expression, and to an extent now it has even been abused. So it's something that I appreciate. And also there is one sad issue when it concerns press. Every year that always comes to my mind. The first time I was opportune to be on a TV station was many years ago. I think that should be around 2015. And it's a TV station where I met you, Mr. Tah Mai Javis,
yes.
for the first time.
Yes.
That was CMTV.
Yeah.
And you all know that Azizi was there. So it's somebody that I knew so well. And anytime we are talking about the press day, I always, his picture, his face always come to my mind, which is one of the aspects that, of course, it hurts a lot. But the forces of law and order should also know that it is their right to protect journalists too. Because from what I know, the state of Cameroon really has no problem with journalists. The government really has no problem with journalists. Maybe some individuals feel attacked maybe by what people say or what a journalist may say, and it becomes personal between them. But the government itself, all I can see is the National Communication Council giving out sanctions to journalists and of course to TV stations. But for the moment, I've not seen the state of Cameroon like sending a journalist to prison because of what he or she said. So I think I should appreciate that, you know, especially in a region like the CEMAC, where what we do here, other countries are perplexed and surprised to see what we are doing. It's only in Cameroon that somebody will sit on a platform and criticize the president from head to toe, criticize the government. Well, we can't see that in Central African Republic. We can't see that in Guinea Equatorial. We can't see that in Chad. We can't see that in Congo Brazzaville of Denis Sassou Nguesso. You can't see that there. But we realize that in Cameroon there is that freedom to an extent that it is being abused.
That's because we are in an advanced democracy, as one minister once said now.
Of course, and that's what we say. In Cameroon, we have this advantage over our neighbors, is that we have freedom of speech and freedom after speech. But of course, our neighbors, you know, they don't even have the freedom of speech. I've seen one time in Congo where people were talking on a platform like this live, and the military came and carried them live, and those that were in their houses were watching it live. You see, but that we don't have in Cameroon is something we appreciate. Not to talk about the newspapers today, which they are doing a great job to keep Cameroonian informed. Personally, my own problem with the media is that they should dish out information. Let the people themselves interpret it and take their stand. But what the problem we have with Cameroonian media is that that is the news. The news they give out is a news that they are already giving you another intention in your mind. Let me say this example, Mr. Tah Mai. You go back to your house and your neighbor tells you that when you are not at home, your wife is always with the neighbor. Now it is left for you to investigate what your wife is always doing with the neighbor. He just said what he saw. You are the one to interpret it and get to your conclusion. But what we have is other media who act like this, like a neighbor that will tell you that Mr. Tah Mai, when you are not in the house, your wife always go to the neighbor's house, and when they are done, the neighbor will come out with a shawl sweating and your wife sweating. Automatically, that neighbor is already putting something negative in your mind, and that is what we have, where we have a problem in.
But what if they are sweating?
Pardon?
What if they were actually sweating?
If they are sweating, it means that the neighbor is telling you that they did something. When he was not
what is wrong with say that you have seen that this person is sweating, this person? Well, maybe they were cooking.
It is different. Let's say,
maybe it was
in the house together. It's okay. Why should you need to tell us about the way they were sweating? One was putting on shawl.
Maybe they were actually sweating. It's not good to report that they were actually sweating.
No, it's not good.
Maybe now when he investigates, we see that they were sweating because the weather was hot inside, or they were cooking, all this kind of thing like that.
Anyway, all of us have understood what I'm saying, and that's what some media they do. They put idea in your mind and make you to reason like them when what they are saying. So that's one issue that I think is a problem.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kedia. But if they're actually sweating, we should report now. Dr. Barrister, some presidential aspirant. The state of Cameroon media, you are aspiring to become president of Cameroon. And when you look at the landscape, what is to be done? What is not to be done?
Well, the first thing I would like to say is that liberty of press, freedom of speech is a human right, and it is provided by Section 19 of the UN Universal Declaration of Human Rights of 1948. And when we look at Cameroon today, we have that impression that is freedom of speech. But I would say no. I would say no because, you know, despite the fact that people might think that they are saying whatever they want to say, but they are saying it under pressure. They are saying it under conditions which are extremely harsh and under frustration. And when somebody expresses his freedom of speech under frustration, then it's not more freedom of speech, because he is doing it because at that moment he does not care about the consequences of what is going to follow. Today in Cameroon, we have seen so many journalists being abducted, being tortured, and even being assassinated. We are talking here about the case of Martinez Zogo, which till date we have not yet found the culprits, and the culprits have not yet been judged.
The matter is still in court.
The matter is still in court, and it has been adjourned all over and all over again. So we clearly see that there is a manipulation going on.
Sorry to disturb, in the court they are still investigating torture. They are not investigating who killed. So that's what I don't understand.
They all go together. All we are trying to say is that for the case, we are almost 3 years now, and nothing has been done, which is unfair. It means that there is no justice. And we are understanding why the investigations are taking so much time. They are taking so much time because the state or actors of the state have their hands in that affair. So this dilatory process that is going on the investigations is because there are people who are trying to influence the results of the investigations. And that is why I'm saying that we might think today that there is freedom of speech, there is freedom of press in Cameroon today, but I say no. And we are just talking about the case here of Martinez Zogo. We have the case of Samuel Wazizi, who was being also in the same manner abducted, tortured, and killed. No reports have been given to us.
But they say deaths of sepsis, where he said killed.
No. When we talk about killing can take place many forms.
Many forms.
You understand, psychological and the rest. So you can put somebody to his death. You see, and that's why I think the penal code actually provides an article that talks about dangerous assaults or assaults leading to death. You see, so it does not obviously mean that the person killed Wazizi directly.
Yeah.
But all the acts that the person conducted, all the types of assaults that the person conducted on the individual led the individual to death. And you know there's a very thin line between assault leading to death and murder. The very thin line between the two types of crimes is that in one there is an intention and in the other there is not. But we shall consider assault leading to death as murder when all the acts that led to the assault were targeting certain vital organs. For example, if you are being brutalized on your head, then the intention of that person was to kill you, because knowing that your head carries your brain, and your brain is actually the central nervous system that conducts everything in your body. Harming it, of course, means that you want that person to die. So what we are trying to say here is that there is no freedom of speech.
Let
me continue. Let me, no, which is what?
This is what we are we not talking?
No, it's not the same thing. We are talking under certain conditions. Mr. Tah Javis, that's why I always appreciate you, because you are a journalist that's different from many others. I've gone to certain panels where I've been told not to talk about certain things, where they limit me to the things I have to say. They tell me that no, you don't have to talk about Pobia, you don't have to talk about the government.
But we are in the same Cameroon. Maybe that's their policy.
No, that means that there is no liberty of press.
Because you can say it here. I allow you to say it.
It's not the same thing. We are talking about something general.
Okay,
we are talking about a practice.
Yeah, from a general perspective.
Yes, when we talk about liberty of the press, it means that where I go to, every TV station I go to, I should be able to say what I want to say as I want to say.
Within the context of the law.
No, of course. I always talk, I'm a lawyer, so I always talk within the context of the law. The rule of law is, it's indispensable, and it is capital. Everybody must respect it. But what I'm trying to say here is that that is not the case. There are TV stations that will tell you that no, we are not going to talk about this. You cannot take it political. We cannot do this. And there are many TV stations that have not yet invited me till date. And I think that one of the reasons is that the state controls so many medias in Cameroon. So they direct them. And that's a problem. We have a state that has centralized powers. We have a regime that is practically controlling everybody, that is having everyone on the grip. And with that, we cannot progress.
When you say the state controls, we are only aware that the state has the CRTV and the Presidency TV and the FM stations, but how does the state control that? We see owners of private individual owning the state?
But we are talking about political control. We are talking about political power.
Okay.
We are talking about political manipulation. We all know that all these institutions have to pay taxes. We know that all these institutions receive subventions from the state.
From fuel?
No. They are supposed to receive.
Because we don't receive.
No, might be because you are not in the system, and that's why you can permit me to say whatever I want to say here, and which I'll upload. But we want to build a new state, and if we want to build a new state, we must make sure that the fundamental principles that governs communication should be accessible to everybody and should be practiced, because it's a human right. A human right means that it's a must. It's inalienable. It's inattackable. It must be done by everybody. That is what we are trying to say today. And communication has a fundamental role to play in the development of each and every nation. Because it's through information, it's through communication that we can create awareness, help people get the right information, help people get the necessary information that will help to foster economic growth, health, and education. So without these things put in place, with a government that does not encourage the accessibility to this human right, then we are doomed. And that's why we see where we are today. We see how limited we are today, because the government is using its powers to manipulate the people, so that the people don't have the right information. The people are not aware of their different constitutional rights and human rights, and that keeps them forever in power and keeps us under misery.
We have been joined by our brother Nick Anu, who is a member of the civil society. Happy Sunday, Alele.
Happy Sunday to Mr. Javis Alela, to my co-panelists and all those watching us all over the globe. I say, I say good morning to my brother who is a fervent listener of this program in the U.S., Mr. Tah Mai Javis, and a special greetings to him and my other brothers in the U.S. of A. I'm a bit saddened because I lost a sister last week. Because of a family sister for that, because of lack of oxygen in our hospitals. So she was like traveling to Boya and around Melon. She had a malaise. And they rushed her to about 2 or 3 hospitals, and none of them could have oxygen to resuscitate her, and she finally gave up the ghost because of that. So it's a kind of sudden situation to see that, yeah, in this our century, in this present Cameroon, our hospitals still lack oxygen to cater for emergency situations. So had it been there were oxygen in the 3 hospitals they went to, maybe she would still be alive today. A special condolence to the husband who is watching us from Fontaine. Yeah, the husband is actually a teacher of the Sita Wisdom College Fontaine, Mr. Songanye, and we want to send a special condolence to you. Yeah, so
now the state of the press. You have been here and you have been observing a civil society from the position of the civil society. How will you look at the state of press freedom in Cameroon? Do you agree with Dr. Barrister or Wikedia that is press freedom?
Yeah, all of them are right in their own perspective. The government has its own way of looking at what press freedom is. Maybe press freedom to them, according to the 1990 laws, liberation of the press, there's a relative improvement in the fact that media houses have been authorized to operate as compared to the past, or the past regime of like Madwa Hiju. Remember, in the past, the newspaper organs, if you write the newspaper, you have to pass through the senior or the divisional officer for him to censor before you publish that. So
yeah, that was a 1966 draconian law.
Yeah, all
instituted by President Aijo.
Yeah, all of that have not. We have seen all of that being taken away by the 1990 law, press freedom laws, and the rest. Yeah, we can say there's some kind of relative press freedom in the aspect of the quantification of media houses that have sprouted here and there, but the fundamental problem still remains: that is there really press freedom in Cameroon, or is there just freedom to talk, and then freedom after talking is not guaranteed? I think in another way, we have seen that if judging from the fact that, despite the fact that there are many media houses that are in Cameroon, but we can see project from the torture suffered by some media persons, like Dr. Asong was saying, quoting some examples like Wazizi and Martinez Zogo. We can judge now from these people and many others to say that there's a lot of censorship when it comes to press freedom in Cameroon. First of all, the press freedom in Cameroon is not fully guaranteed because, first of all, we don't have in Cameroon a law guaranteeing right to information. We don't have a freedom to information act. Yeah, which is supposed to be a fundamental aspect of press freedom. I don't think there is. You cannot just, there are certain information you cannot just
are supposed to give information. You have a right to request for information to public offices in Cameroon.
Yes, not really in that sense.
Yeah.
Not really that sense. I get what he's trying
Yeah, okay.
He's trying to say that there's
the media has
nothing.
the right to ask, but the giver has the right to refuse to accept.
Then there's no. There should be a law guaranteeing the obligation of
Yes, that
of
should talk
yes
about ensuring all of that.
Yeah, because some informations in Cameroon are just heard as if we are in a kind of a secret society, that certain informations are only left for certain people who may understand that when it comes to the management of the state of course, there are some sensitive information that concern the states that are not good for public opinion
like
or consumption. Yes, like the military and the rest. Yeah, but we are not talking about this kind of information. But in as much as there's press freedom, we cannot also deny the fact that some media persons go overboard the law. They go overboard the law. They speak above the law. They give their own personal interpretation. We know that the press is like the fourth power of every state. Is a very powerful sector of the state that it needs regulation, and the way it is managed is somehow very sensitive, and it needs a kind of careful management. If not, it can cause an implosion. Remember that many wars in the world have been caused by the press. For example, like the First World War, if you study Ghibli, you see that the hand of the press was in it, and the rest, and some other wars. You still look at the Rwandan genocide, the hand of the press was in it. And what we are saying is that in Cameroon, we are having, for example, some media organs that, to me, they present themselves as if they are above the law, or they are above the National Communication Council. They have some kind of rhetorics that they propagate in their media houses. We don't see them being sanctioned, but we see some other media houses being sanctioned. It is as if there's a kind of camping in when it comes to media houses in Cameroon, where some people are hiding behind these media houses to project their individual power and control over others. If not, how can you justify that some media houses will obviously outrightly abuse other people or abuse certain tribes in the state, and the National Communication Council does nothing about it, but meanwhile some other media houses, before you want to say something, you are sanctioned. So all of these are press discrimination that in an advanced, supposed advanced democracy of Cameroon that some people claim, they are not supposed to be happening.
Okay.
But
permit me to say something.
Yes.
I just want to say that the head of that commission we are talking, Mr. Joe Chebonke, has suspended journalism at CRTV.
Yeah.
Vision Card cannot do, and even here where we are talking. So I don't think there's any.
Yeah, because in terms of discrimination, I just think that maybe some of those informations have not been brought to their attention, or maybe maybe it was the explanations that probably may have come out were not actually kept within the context that many expect. But I believe that we have had even our colleague here suspended for a month, and his program also suspended for a month, based on some kind of practice that the Communication Council ascertained that were against the state of viva and Sam and national unity and integration.
Of course, permit me to conclude on this issue of freedom of press. Now, freedom of press is very, very curved. It's limited. We should not assume that it's unlimited.
And it comes with responsibility.
Yes. I cannot come here and say, Mr. Asong, you're an idiot, and I assume it's freedom of speech. It's not freedom of speech. I've committed a crime, and he has the right to sue me.
It's hate
so
speech,
we should know that there is a limitation on that. And to conclude, I just want to talk about the guy Eric Tato that was all over social media asking people's hand to be cut off. Maybe according to him, he thought it was freedom of press. But today it's in America, not in Cameroon, that some people may be calling him a political criminal. But in America today he's under house arrest because of what the communication he did. So we should know that when you are communicating, you should respect individuals and institutions.
Okay.
That's my view.
And please, I would like to add something. I just also want to add that in light with what he's saying, that journalism should be positive. Today we should be going towards positive journalism, because it has been revealed by research that the message journalists communicate to the population can be a cause of mental illness, in the sense that if they are poorly communicated, then it can cause some sort of psychological trauma to those who are listening. So it's just to encourage all Cameroonian journalists and bloggers who have been doing an extraordinary work to really work within their frame and know that they have a very powerful role to play, and that the information that they communicate can either put people in a state of trauma or actually put them in the state where they can be able to sit together and find sustainable solutions to our problems.
Okay, thank you. This one says, hello, Mr. Javis Sharon. I'm back in the United States of America, Boston City, Massachusetts. Mr. Javis, I love your program so much. I follow it up online, Mr. Javis. Did you see the CPD and mayor sharing money to Cameroonians? Oh, that is because the working conditions are really bad. Everything is messed up in such a way that people sell their consciences for, okay, and the birthplace. Okay, Sharon, your message is gotten. You can see the youth came out in Boya to support one. The situation is really bad. Thank you very much. Yeah. Sharon, your message. Your message is gotten. This other one says, greetings and happy Sunday, Mr. Javis. I wish to ask Mr. KJ talking about freedom of speech in Cameroon, if it is this same Cameroon where you live in, or he's talking about a different Cameroon. Okay, thank you very much. Your message is also gotten. This other one says, happy Sunday, thanks for inviting Barrister Asong. My question to him will also be that how he intends to create jobs and improve the working condition of workers, because as you see, he talked about the issue that we should be mourning. And so when you say we should be mourning, what is the practical modalities that he's going to put in place to provide jobs for Cameroonians should he be elected in 2025? This other one says, happy Sunday to you guys in the studio. For once, I agree with Mr. Kedia about the issue of press freedom in Cameroon. It comes with responsibility, and journalists must also ensure that it's not everything that they see that must be said, because if one man commits a crime, if you see that that crime will plunge, if you report it and see that it will plunge the entire village into a chaos. As a journalist, you should keep that, not because you should not report it, but if you see that the reporting outweighs the safety of the community, you better keep that in mind. However, on other issues, I disagree with KJ Robert Malanfe. Okay, I begin with you, KJ, before moving to Barrister Dr. Asong. Let's look at the working condition, assessing the working condition of workers in Cameroon, and also the issue about job creation. We just celebrated the International Labour Day. How will you are also an employee, also, how will you evaluate the working condition of your peers, those working in your sector, and generally those with whom you associate with who work in other institutions?
Firstly, I would like to see, let Cameroonians know that when we are talking about Labour Day celebration, the mindset of interpretation of the word celebration does not mean that it is a day we drink beer. No, it's just a day that workers, they look at their weaknesses, they look at their difficulties, and they bring ideas to move ahead. So that's the perspective of that day, a day of reflection. Now, talking about the issue of workers in Cameroon, if you permit me, I would like to break them down in 3 different aspects. We have those of the state that are employed by the state. To be honest and candid, they are more better. We have the second category of people, self-employed. Those that they have done their economic activity, they employ themselves and they are in charge of their activities. Yes, they are a little bit better. While we have those that are employed in the private sector. So I would like to take this in these 3 perspectives. Talking about those that are being employed by their workers, of course, the situation, I will tell you, Mr. Tah Mai Javis, is not good. Why do I say so? There is really no direct protection that they have. You are employed by somebody. The state does not ensure that this company that employ these people should have a contract. And when somebody is poor and desperate and you get a job and they give you their own type of conditions, you are forced to accept because of your situation. But those that are in charge, well, like I spoke with one top hierarchy at the Ministry of Secondary Education, I said, but the delegate was supposed to have the teaching program of all teachers in the private sector, know all their academic qualification there, and know how much they are being paid, and ensure that they are being paid by
CMPS, their social insurance is being paid too.
It's being paid. But that is not done. And at times you are not paid for 3 months. Where do you go to? Gendarmerie or police? Where's money to get a lawyer? Where you see somebody like Mr. Barrister Song here, you know that maybe to go and see him, they'll say you should first of all sign 50,000 before you get for consultation. How do somebody to open the file? How is somebody that is worried that they have not given the salary that maybe is 40,000 will go and do that? Or maybe you go to social insurance or whatever. So there is problem at that level. That is why you see today with the situation, nursery school, secondary teachers, some are busy eating the food of the children that their parents bring because of that situation. You know, I'm a teacher. I must definitely talk about that because at least I taught for more than 10 years before entering to the civil service. It's really difficult. When I say us that we are government, we are better off. Many people say, why should you say that? But we are in a situation
that's the reality.
You are in a situation that at a lycée, you are a government teacher, you have 300,000, and somebody is in that very place. He's a PTA teacher, he's having 50,000 per month. So it becomes a problem. So I think that in Cameroon, really a lot is supposed to be done at the level of those that are employed. Self-employed, their problem may be at the level of the taxes that it overweighs them. But those that are employed,
rent.
yes, and rent. And anyway, rent is about debate with the landlord.
Because the landlord, yes.
But the problem is tax. They'll tell you that there's 3 years tax free where you want to create a company, but how is that done? Where do you declare it, and how do you show that you're 3 years? Many people don't do that declaration before starting, so there is a problem. When you look at those working, especially, sorry, I'm forced to call it, those working in the company of Lebanese, Chinese people, you look at the situation there. Some of them, you even go in the morning, they say they will take maybe the first 100, and if you go there, you are late, they already have 100. Even when you are not late, you will not have a job. You realize that the working conditions in this firm, they are not protected. So I think that a lot should be done much at the level of those that are being employed. Why those of those that are self-employed could be handling their tax issue, why those that are civil servants, of course, human want is never enough, they will never be satisfied. And when you say that their salary was added twice, when Mr. Tah Mai Javis, anyway, 5,000 was increased, and we know
twice now
of 5,000 that goes up to 10,000, which is a good job, you know. I would should appreciate because you cannot say that I am a teacher. You will not add 5,000, 10,000, and somebody is touching 300,000, and there's somebody, PTA teacher,
yes,
they're struggling to have 50,000,
and he has not had that addition.
He has not had it.
Maybe I have more work than you.
I know schools here in Douala that the month end on the 30th. People are paid on the 15th of the next month. How do you pay your rent? How do you take care of your children? What do you do next? It's frustrating. So those are the things that I believe that the various because all institutions, be it schools, private businesses where they are workers, they fall under a ministry. So the Ministry of Basic Education should be able to look at the situation of teachers in the private sector, their situation, civil secondary education, even the Minister of Commerce.
I don't know, are they not even, are those things, are they not even part of the requirement before a school is even approved to run, that you must show proof of income and proof that your workers will be enrolled in, or have been enrolled in the social insurance scheme? Because there are even situations where workers
it is part of the document. They say you should have a land title certificate, good building, you should have the capital to take. That is written, but the problem now is at the level of the follow-up. You know, I know many people at home that are watching them say that, but Mr. Keja, you are a recipient, you are a communicator. But the truth is that, as I earlier said, I was in the private sector for 10 years. I know what I saw. And so anytime when they are talking about such situation, I will always come out to say that there is a problem here. Can you imagine that a teacher per week, you have more than 24 hours, which you multiply, should be about 100 hours, and you don't end up to 100,000, meaning that the period is not up to 1,000. So the situation is really sad, that I really think that a lot of concern should be done to protect people. Sorry about those that have other jobs, but I'm just forced to talk about mostly the conditions of teachers because that's what I understand more better.
Barrister Dr. Asong, when you look at this, the medical corps, you look at also the legal scenario, especially those working chambers, because we can also remove the fact that those working chambers within the. How would you appreciate the working condition of Cameroonians as a whole? Because you are aspiring to become president, which means that you must have had information on most, or if not all, the sectors which you are coming to address.
It's very sad what we are experiencing in Cameroon today. When you look at the labor sector, we are still using a law that is about 32, 33 years old. Because today, when it concerns labor matters, we are using the Labor Code of 1992. So we are using a law that is 32, 33 years old. Of course, we know that the law evolves in time and space. And you know, with time, there are certain things which need to be ameliorated to fit the issues which we are facing today. So you realize that that law is first of all archaic, and that law does not provide certain vital solutions to some problems we have. So you took the example of those in the medical fields and those working in chambers. So you realize that those working in chambers, they call them stagiaires, you see, and we have almost something similar in the medical field. That is, medical doctors who are working in some private medical institutions and who are being recruited as stagiaires. So you realize that in the labor code which we have today, there is nothing like stagiaire, because this is a practice which has been going on, and it is being conducted not only in those sectors which I've stated, but even in companies. They take people under the canopy of coming to do stage,
Professional internship,
and they keep them there for 2-3 years, using them, paying them crumbs, or they call it transport and the rest. Then later on, one day they just get up and tell you guys, I know you guys have to leave. We cannot continue any longer with you, after using you, exploiting you, enslaving you. So these are one of the things that we have to resolve, and you realize that this does not exist in the labor code which we have today. It's a serious problem. So these people don't have social insurance. They don't have they don't have health and safety. All those things, they are not protected. And more to that, we must know that the wage of every worker is a human right, and the wage must meet certain criteria. For example, the wage should be one which is fulfilling, which when you have it, you feel satisfied that, okay, this corresponds to the amount of work I have put in. The wage should be one which should be able to compensate for the risk which you're taking. For example, if you want to give a befitting salary to a medical doctor, you must consider the risk which he has, because he can get infected by the disease of another person. He might want to give administrate medications, and he gets injected.
CPR.
Yeah, and the rest. Now, you must also take into consideration that extra hours being put in. So if a medical doctor is working extra hours, is working the night, then all those things must be considered. So you see that in Cameroon, all those components are not put into place. And the last thing is that the salary should be able to permit you to at least have a purchasing power, which is considered normal in the society. But with the high cost of living, high rents, high taxes, which have increased the prices of goods and services, we find ourselves today with people or with workers that have salaries but that cannot meet up with the standards of living. So even in the public service, the salaries being provided to civil servants, even though they are better than others, but at the same time, you realize that those salaries cannot do anything. And that's the reason why we easily have today corruption. We easily have today civil servants that are abandoning their stations and going to work in other places so that they can make ends meet. So this is one of the major issues that we are having concerning the categories of people which you stated. But another thing that we are going to take note is that the working environment is inappropriate. I'll take the case of teachers and medical doctors who are working in rural areas. For example, we have seen places in the northern regions of Cameroon where teachers don't have an office. They don't even have a class. They teach the children in open air, under trees, you see, in a very scorching and no. It's Cameroon. It's Cameroon. It's Cameroon. No, the pictures are
you
Cameroon.
sure, Dr. Barrister, are you sure the pictures that you're talking about?
They are in Cameroon.
Cameroon.
They are in Cameroon.
Well,
The
but-
pictures are in Cameroon. We have even seen schools without roofs in this very Cameroon. We have seen children have classes in flooded classrooms. So we are talking about our nation. We know our nation.
But they also exist. They also exist flood everywhere now.
No. That's not what we are trying to take. See, I never
But
compare.
are you sure we have seen? There are
at-
some classes that we have seen being held in Cameroon under the tree.
No, what I'm in open air. I myself in the University of Douala, we have had a class in open air. We have had a class in open air where the teacher said, no, okay, I can't go, there are no classrooms, let's just sit here and we'll discuss. I've had a class in open air on the grass. We all sat down on the grass and he was saying one or two things. It's true, it did not take long. It took about 30 minutes. We just want to give one or two advice and he left. But it was a class. It was considered as a class. He was present and he walked. So we are not talking about things which we are creating. No, we are talking about facts, things that are verified. That the infrastructure in Cameroon is extremely poor and cannot permit workers to work appropriately. There are places in Cameroon, for example, I worked in Oyumojok. Where do you have lights? No lights. You are working in the dark. You are doing sutures with torches and candles. As a medical doctor, as a nurse, I've worked in Yabasi, same scenario, where we receive people in the night at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and you're forced to do sutures with a torch or with candles. We don't have the appropriate infrastructure. Working in Yabasi, I was in an office that was like an oven, where you're going to sweat like round the clock. So how can a worker be comfortable in such an environment? And that does not only go for the worker, but also goes for those who are receiving the services. That is the people who are sovereign and who we have the obligation to serve first. So without infrastructure, where are we going to? And that is where we see how the government is lacking in many things. Now, we'll take another issue, for example, talking about occupational health and safety. You wouldn't imagine that in Cameroon today, for you to be an occupational health and safety specialist, you need an accreditation from the minister. Now, those with certificates, those who have the knowledge to practice occupational health and safety cannot have that accreditation from the minister, because we know how the system functions. So there is a serious problem. We have teachers today who end up with lumbar diseases. We have teachers today who are suffering from gastritis, malnutrition, and other issues. And that is because in our institutions today, there is no occupational health and safety system put in place to advise workers that, okay, these are the risks which are linked with your profession. These are the type of diseases you might have. Because today we are young. But the type of professions we practice today, when we shall be 50, 60 years old, there are certain diseases that are going to sprout up naturally. So the role of our labor code, occupational health and safety, that is supposed to be provided there and made sure that it is implemented, should have a role to protect our citizens so that they don't have these occupational diseases later on. Now, when we go again, we'll look at our minimum wage. Our minimum wage today is 43,969 francs. It's a whole problem, because for several reasons. The first thing, that particular wage cannot do anything for any citizen with the present state of things and the high cost of living. So it must be increased. Either it is increased, or I have a solution to reduce the cost of living by reducing taxes, by making fuel cheaper, and that will actually by imposing regulation to prices to everybody, so that will bring the standards lower. And if I also increase it a little bit, it will balance up things. But that's not the only thing. We shall realize that because the minimum wage is a general wage, we have medical doctors today who are being proposed 50,000 a month. And in quotes, the employer will say no, 50,000 is okay because the minimum wage is 40,
that brings now the question of the calculation of the minimum wage. Is it not good to standardize the minimum wage based on the standard practices, because you cannot be paying some kind of people some kind of job 50,000?
And it goes same in the sector of education. That's why, as my co-panelist was saying, in the private sector, people are paid very poor wages because the employer actually focalizes and bases itself on the minimum wages. So this is what I have been proposing. I've said we have to put in place a minimum wage per category. It means that there will be a minimum wage for medical doctors. There will be a minimum wage for teachers. And I strongly know that when you put in that minimum wage per profession, per level of education, per experience, there are certain institutions that will not be able to pay it. I know there are certain private institutions that will not be able to meet up with the standards. And that's the reason why I'm proposing communism. Because in the sense of communism, everything is being controlled by the state. So all the teachers, be it those in the private sector now, will have to be absorbed by the state. Okay. So I'm planning to change the private sector into the communist sector. That will permit me to take in charge everybody and to pay everybody. And that's the only way I can create the balance. And by creating that balance, I'll make sure that every Cameroonian will be able to have the same quality of services. Okay, because when those teachers are well paid, when those medical doctors are well paid, then certainly we shall be able to provide the same services equally to every Cameroonian as our constitution provides that each Cameroonian should be treated equally.
We shall be coming back to you. Good day, House of Commons. I appreciate Mr. Kedia for once for talking on the plight of the private teachers. It is horrible. Why should there be different category of workers of workers oiling the same public service? Civil servant, contract workers, and state agents. Harmonization is imperative. Takum, writing from Fumban. This one says, good afternoon, Mr. Javis and other panelists. Thanks for the wonderful educative program. I remember back then when I was in secondary school, our geography teacher went on a maternity leave. A PTA teacher was hired to cover for her the time being. After a few lessons with PTA teacher, we realized that this teacher was far more than our main teacher. This one says, happy Sunday to you. I think the minimum wage should be standardized, because you cannot imagine that someone will finish school, master's degree, goes to a company and they'll be giving him 50,000. That the minimum wage of Cameroon government is 50,000. How on earth do you balance that? Minimum wage, even someone who is doing menial jobs, is not 50,000. The government should look into that. Okay. This one says, yeah, message is gotten. How you appreciate the working condition of workers? You are in the private sector, and yes, private sector, which means self-employed, or private sector. So you are not in the government sector. You have self-employed, but you are in private sector. You have people who are working with you. So you are in the private sector. How will you look at this, the issue of working condition across? You have been associated with people. You have also been a teacher at one point in time before becoming self-employed. What is your appreciation about the working condition?
it is it's not even something that if we start talking today, we're going to end. To me, I really see it as a kind of structural injustice that, to me, the state has a greater role to play to regulate that. The state is supposed to act as a regulator, but many at times we don't see their presence, we don't feel their presence in where they are really supposed to act. For example, when it comes to wealth distribution in a nation, the state is supposed to show an example. How can you define the fact that a minister is having a lot of advantages, having a car, living in a house provided by the state, drives in a car provided by the state, uses petrol provided by the state, go for medical checkup abroad with money provided by the state, and many other advantages, the school fees for their children provided by the state. All of these are structural injustice. Meanwhile, some other category of workers, like teachers who work and medical doctors who work for the government, they are not, their salary are nowhere to be found. Talk of even going right up to our defense and security forces. It's not only the teachers. If we look at why should the state build this kind of structural injustice in such a way that some people are placed higher there, and with the sense that they are ministers, they are directors and the rest, and they are the ones eating all the money of the state, and the rest, and the rest of the people down there have nothing to write home about, or nothing to feed their families and live a decent life. So is it that it is the ministers and directors are more human than the teachers and the doctors, that they are supposed to live a very high profile life, and some other people who are rendering, because all of these things is rendering service. When you render service, you're supposed to be paid for it, and the payment should be commensurate to what you do. And before that, there has to be a kind of base. There has to be a kind of base to be to the kind of money you're being paid. Who says that somebody who is a house girl is supposed to earn 20,000 or 15,000 because the house girl is the person not rendering services, or we judge that the services the person render are less or compared to somebody who renders services in another sector? All of these things are structural injustice that are supposed to be corrected.
The minister once said with 30,000 you can live well in Cameroon. It's a big man.
We don't know the basis of that kind of statement. Of course, those kind of statements are some scandalous statements that are not supposed to be aired out in a society as us. You cannot live a decent life with 30,000, even in the village. I mean, in the village where you're not buying food or you're not paying house rent, 30,000 might not be enough for you to live. Taking into cognizance the fact that the high cost of living, the cost of materials in the market, and all of these things is funny, because the minister and the common man, and they go to the same market. They buy from the same market. It's not like there's a special market for poor people and a special market for high income earners. All of these things goes to the fact that the cost of governance, the cost of governance in Cameroon is very scandalous, in the sense that our state workers, the minister, directors, and the rest, majority of our state budget is focused on them to pay this their lavish lifestyle, and in a country that is even very, very poor. In a normal society, all of these things are supposed to be stabilized. A minister who says that a minister cannot drive his own personal car and go to work, or cannot be his own personal house and live in, and all of these things, if they were cut away, meaning that all of these advantages were reduced, and then the resources are focused on other aspect of development, it will create a kind of balance. It will create a kind of balance between the rich and the poor. The gap between the rich and the poor will not be so widened, and we see it every day, and these problems are being created every day, and they are staring at us in our faces. Some regions have been deliberately impoverished. They have been deliberately impoverished, and you see their children litter around in our major cities, and the state, it doesn't mean anything to them, we don't know that it's a kind of social crisis they are building in the future. And to me, the problem of Cameroon is not because we are poor. We are not poor. To me, the problem is a problem of distribution of wealth distribution. Wealth distribution is in Cameroon is so discriminatory that the rich keeps getting richer and the poor keeps getting poorer. And normally, who says in Cameroon you cannot, if you pay a teacher 500,000, 600,000, you have not overpaid that teacher, because the work the teacher put in cannot really even be measured. If you pay a medical doctor $1 million francs, you are not overpaid the person, because the risks they take in order to save life it cannot be measured.
Enormous.
Yes, if you pay our defense and security forces, it will be scandalous to say that you pay a defense and security force who just leaves training school 40,000 or 40-something thousand, and somebody who is defending most of these rich people, it is something that is really uncalled for. And we are hoping that, we know that in this republic now, most of this structural discrimination cannot really be addressed, but we're hoping that in the new Cameroon come October, all of this, the person who is going to take over is going to really address most of this structural injustice and make sure that we live in a more equitable society.
You wanted to add?
Yes, the person that will take over, he said, is President Pobia, and he will look into his.
But is President Pobia not still in power? Will he take over again?
Of course. You know, after election, after 7 years,
So we need
you still take your oath of power.
Okay, so we need a
After
different mandate to
election-
address the issue. That issue addressed now.
After an election, of course, the
I agree with you.
president
What
will
I'm
sit
saying
in
now,
his
we need a new mandate to address the issue.
No, the head of state said it. He has a project to 2035.
Okay.
So that is what the head of state
Okay,
is
so
doing.
it's in progress.
So it's in progress up to 2035, which is something that we should appreciate. And I just want to let Cameroonians know that we really don't have a problem of unemployment in Cameroon, because the percentage of employment in Cameroon is about
No, you cannot say that. You cannot say that we
And-
don't have a pool of unemployment in Cameroon.
really-
That's media manipulation.
I said employment in Cameroon is about 70,
Yes.
and unemployment is about 30.
And it's not
now,
a problem.
Permit me to continue. And instead, most intellectuals, they will caveat or argue that no, this is not correct, the National Institution of Statistics is not right, it's not this. But for me as an intellectual, instead, where I see it as a problem is the level of underemployment. Because many
disguised
people,
unemployment.
yes, because most of them, they are there to refuse that no, it is not. No, by right that they are employed. Yes, it's an economic activity. They have their wages. Call boxers, truck pushers, it is an activity. But instead, I would like to look at the level of underemployment, which is really a problem. And I tell all Cameroonians that the level of employment in Cameroon is 70.
Okay, Mr. Javis, I'm enjoying this topic. My regard to my chairman, His Excellency Asong Michael. I have been looking forward. I was looking for an opportunity to talk with him. Are you writing from Guti? This one says, I am Stephen from Bali. Ascadia left CPDM. When is the repeat of this program? I don't understand where. Okay, we go straight to the second topic. The second topic, we are almost out of time. We are 1:17. We still have about some few minutes, Mr. Kedia. Now I don't know whether you will now say if Kedia has left CPDM or not, or he has changed. We are going to the second topic now. The second topic, which is we have 5 months to go for the presidential election. Dr. Barrister Song Michael, beginning this time with you. political education. Can we say that we have had enough political education with 5 months, just 5 months to go?
Well, we'll never say enough is enough, but I think that what has been done on the field by various political actors, yes, I can say that it's up to standards. I say so because we can actually draw our conclusions from the different social media platforms. For example, what is happening on Facebook, how political actors have been keeping Facebook booming with several proposals which are actually being in one way or the other commented by the population. People are getting more and more interested. For example, I made a post on alcohol, talking about banning alcohol, and I was quite shocked to have everybody talking about it. I'm like, but so alcohol is really something which Cameroonians love so much that it has created.
They are singing this song, J'aime la bière.
I'm telling you, yeah.
What should we like if
Well, you know, from a medical point of view, alcohol
is better than juice?
No, alcohol is of no benefit to the health. Even the lowest volume of alcohol. I think a study carried out in England proved it. And we as medical doctors, we confirm it, because knowing fully well that alcohol can cause several types of diseases like hypertension, diabetes, liver issues, kidney failure, heart diseases, gout, and many others. And we also know that alcohol too has impoverished so many Cameroonians who spend their time buying alcohol and living on it, and will not even give money to their wives or pay their children's school fees. We have also realized that people who drink a lot of alcohol will, at the end of the day, commit gender-based violence towards their spouses. We have realized that those who drink alcohol are less productive than those who don't take. So what is very certain is that someone who takes alcohol will be working at 50% of his potential. So these are the type of things that we are talking about, and knowing fully well that Cameroon should be the first in terms of consumption of alcohol, and alcohol is a hindrance to our development. So just to say that I posted that, and it created a lot of commotion on social media. That goes also to show that as day goes by, as we are getting closer to the elections day, people are getting more interested in politics. And I think that you, Mr. Tah Mai Javis, as a journalist, you have also seen the engagement on TikTok. How candidates are actually being questioned by the Cameroonian population. I, for one, I have been a lot there, and I think a few days ago, Professor Maurice Kanto also declared that he will be there. So that just goes to show that youths today in Cameroon and the Cameroonian population are getting more and more involved, and even registrations are still going on, which I'll encourage those who have not yet
registrations are due to end by, I'm sure,
July, let's say July, something like that, July. Yeah, so people should go and get registered, because this year is a year of change. We have already made 40 years in the desert, and it's time for us to move to Canaan. And I want to be that leader that will take Cameroonians to Canaan, and I strongly believe that I have everything that it takes. The right mindset, integrity, transparency, love for my people, patriotism, nationalism, and in communism, which I put forward as a mechanism in which the interest of the community, the interest of the people will be my priority. Ready to live a very simple life, because I know the responsibilities which I have, which are extremely huge. So to live a life that will be able to generate more resources which you can use to rebuild this nation, increase our numbers of workers, be it in the public sector, engage in potential sectors like agriculture, gas, energy, engage in services like technology, educational services, medical services, that will help us to boost our GDP, to be more productive, to have a positive balance of payment, and that is what is going to permit us to be able to have more than enough, increase our budget, invest more, and be productive, and make life really easy for every Cameroonian. So that's what we have been proposing all this time to Cameroonians.
Many people are worried about the issue of alcohol ban. That what becomes the business side of it, which employs a good number of people, that generate good number of money in terms of tax, and that what becomes of other nations that want to drink the alcohol produced from Cameroon. What happens to the business side of it?
Well, I think that when we are talking about the business side of it, there are many things that we must take into consideration. We must weigh the advantages first of all and the disadvantages. So when we look at what alcohol is causing to our people today in terms of its impact in our health and other social consequences which I just stated, you realize that it outweighs the benefits that might come with it. We should not be happy that a Cameroonian would drink alcohol and die of a stroke, or die of a cancer, or die of a liver cirrhosis, or die of a kidney failure. I strongly believe, I'm one of those people who believes that the life of every Cameroonian is more precious than the trillions and billions which we might have. So when we are looking at this thing, we have to first of all think at the best interest of Cameroonian population. The second thing is that people are going to lose jobs. Yes, even though they are going to lose jobs, but we are going to create jobs elsewhere. As I just said, that we are going to be investing in agriculture, in the energy sector, in the sector of services. We'll increase our number of workers. I'll take, for example, today, when you look at the health sector, we just have roughly about 20,000 health professionals. Now, when you look at the standards of the WHO, it provides that we need about 23 medical personnel for a population of 10,000 people. So where are we today? We are at about 7 to 8, 9 for a population of 10,000 people. So we have a deficit of about 45,000 personnel for the health sector. So I, for one, I plan to meet up with those international standards. Automatically is going to create more jobs, not only in the health sector, but in other sectors, and also putting more emphasis on agriculture, on technology, on energy. Of course, we'll be able to generate more jobs that will be able to compensate for the losses that might be felt in those sectors.
We had enough political education. I had 5 months to go.
Of course, yes, especially at the level of my party, because I'll talk about my party. But before I go there, I want to tell Barrister Doctor that Germany has the most powerful economy in the world, and they are the highest country that consume alcohol. So what he's saying about Cameroon, it has nothing to do. If Germany, the highest consumer of alcohol, has the most stable economy, then I don't think alcohol has anything to do with productivity. Talking about being prepared, yes, at the level of the CPDM, we are already prepared. The first aspect is talking about the polling stations, especially the units, because we have about 2,700 units, and at the level of the party, we already have people in this unit, and of course, we already have people in this center. So they are undergoing their training and education. The Secretary General of my party, of course, has given instruction to all the subsection president to talk with the president of the basic organ to ensure that all militants have registered. And of course, as I talk to you, I assure you that all the militants of the CPDM, of course, have already registered. Now, what we are doing in the field is ensuring that all those militants that have registered should ensure that at least they have 5 sympathizers, at least 5 sympathizers that they need to convince also to register at the level of ELECAM. So you realize that us in the CPD, we are very, very, very structured. And that is why each time we pay our party card where we raise funds. And that's why each time we come for meeting with our sympathizers, we ensure that we assist them with their transportation. It is our party fund. And I saw on social media they were talking about another party, the way after their meeting, people have to eat. But after an activity, people need to eat. So when people eat and you see people coming out to say this or that, they are
It's
giving
not
the
only
money.
eating, they're sharing money.
Yeah, for their transportation. If our party has money from our contribution, how many thousands of us do we have in our party? And what is wrong if we give? So are you saying that at the level of you?
That's corruption.
No, it's
How
politics.
do you
It is
define
not everywhere in the world.
But we cannot also say it's corruption because
No,
this-
you see, he is stingy because him as an independent candidate. Are you
which
saying
taxi
that?
money?
Are you
Which
saying
taxi
that?
money?
Are you saying that if
People live in the same place. You're talking about taxi
the issue
money.
is-
Are you saying that if your sympathizer
People live
comes
there.
to your
They are a
meeting
few
and say
meters.
he does not have transport, you will not give him or her?
Where they carry out the
How much
meeting.
is the person's
No, but we are talking about
No.
this issue.
How much is
No,
it?
no, no.
Yeah,
We are
I know where I brought this
we are talking
We
about.
have about
Where do the
we
people
have
live?
more than 2.5 militants that paid their party card, and when you look at the money, it's
We are
good
talking
money.
about the issue of working condition. We just talked about the issue of working condition. Now, KDI is evoking the fact that this is also militant condition, ensuring that the militant are in the best of condition. Because he's saying that the money is coming
we're
from
in
their-
a different,
for
we're in a
example-
different sector.
It came from our
for example,
we cannot
for
talk-
example, by Dr.
Do you
Barista
think
and
when we
for
displace
example,
people, we
for
need to
example,
assist them with something?
for example,
Yes.
I want us to be very, very, very real because Cameroonians are watching us. For example, in Boya, youth in Boya came out together and contributed 5 million CFA francs to donate to the party to actually campaign for presidential election.
Where did they take the money?
No, these are people we don't need to know.
Where did they take the money? We don't need to know how. Why do we need to know the source?
Are you
We don't need to know the source.
Are you not working?
We're not
Are you not working? What we been?
We watch the videos. We watch
Are you
them.
not working?
We know where those
Are you
They
not
are
working?
students. Where are they working?
I am a youth. I'm working, sir.
He's one of
Are you?
I'm a
How
youth.
old are you?
Huh?
How old are you?
Of course, when somebody says a youth is somebody below 35, sir.
Okay.
So I'm a youth,
Okay.
and there are many youths like they out there that they are working, and they have that right to
But
support their
that
party.
contribution
Please,
was more. That contribution was from students.
No, we cannot say
That was for students. No, the ones he only declared that they were
No, they were
students.
not
You are
students.
talking
They were
about
students.
the-
No, what we
in
know,
the southwest
the southwest region,
it
the
was
southwest region,
youths. And we are even
yes.
talking about regional.
Yes, we are
So
talking about
even
regional.
We should even say that,
Yes.
we should say that 5 million is small for a
a
region.
region.
But what is important for us in our
The money
party,
was to
it-
help the
it is-
party.
So that was the money
it is that
contributed.
love.
That's
It
what
is that love.
We know all of that money is for.
No, you cannot say we know. You cannot say you know.
Elites
because
are the
you
one
are-
giving
you are
that
not-
money.
You are
They give that money in the name of.
We are beyond
That's
that.
manipulation. We know all of
I'm
that.
telling you.
No,
We are not in a
manipulation.
new country.
You are ignorant.
no.
You are ignorant, and you are asking how the money was collected.
Nick, you are.
When you are the one saying
Nick,
that it was
you are from
from
you
them,
are
you are
you,
asking how
you
it
are
was
from the
collected.
southwest.
We know.
Nick,
we
you
know
are from the
elites
southwest
one
region.
behind all of that manipulation.
Nick, you are from the
We know
southwest
that
region.
from the southwest
Nick,
region.
you are from the
Yes,
southwest
we know.
region.
Yes.
You are from the southwest region. Did you bother to actually call those who you watch on the TV from the southwest region? Because we saw a coming together of different facets of people from the southwest region in the Independence Square. Did you actually bother to see that, okay, those people who were there actually contributed? Do you have a sheet of those who contributed? Well, now you are saying that no, Ellie. Do you have evidence to prove that it were Ellie that contributed the money?
Mr.
No, the
Javis.
question was not asking.
If we want to start with evidence.
No, yes.
You should not be saying anything.
No, that is
because
no, that one is different because this is an allegation.
If things are going, we'll be asking that. No, where's the evidence?
No, but this one is clear. This is an allegation. This no. This no.
It's just that. It's just that.
We have to be
I am.
truthful.
I am
It's
not
not a new
permitted.
country.
I am not permitted to give the exact amount that youth. Parliamentarian, how much they contribute.
What we are saying is that is coming from the
We're out of time. We're out of time.
we are talking about youth parliamentarian. Oh, so you are ignorant that in Cameroon we have youth parliamentarian.
We're out of time.
We are.
And after our youth parliamentarian, of course,
please,
I want
please,
to let
please.
this be clear.
I've been with
The
the youth
CPM has
parliamentarians. with the you parliamentarians, please.
And,
We're out of time. We're out of time. We're out of time.
They are doing enough so that I should not talk.
No.
Why are you marginalizing me?
We're out of time. We're out of time. We're out of time. We're out of time. No, we're out of time. We're out of time, Keja. Thank you for coming. Keja, they have succeeded in marginalizing.
Because I want to talk about the head of state.
No, thank you. We're out of time.
Okay,
We're out of time.
to conclude,
We're
I
out
just
of
want
time.
to.
We're out of time.
To conclude,
Thank
I just
you for
want to say that the head of state, President Paul Biya, has spent more than 42 years serving the nation, and he's still willing to do that. I think all of us here, we should bow to him and tell him, thank you, Daddy, for continuing serving the nation.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for
It's a
coming.
pleasure to be here.
Doctor Barrister, Nick Anu, thank you for coming. We're out of time.
Yeah, I think Mr. Kedia should be ashamed to.
Okay, now you are
saying that kind of thing. A man of 92 years. Why are you too young to declare to be president of Cameroon?
No. The Constitution on earth says that above 90 years you cannot rule a nation. You are ignorant.
No, Mr. Kedia, you should be ashamed to say that kind of thing.
Mr. Nick, thank you for coming. Mr. Nick, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me, and I think Cameroonians are more than ready to come October to sanction the failure of the CPDM, and it is high time they start packing their bags and arranging their things. In fact, they've messed up the whole country for so long, and we know some of them are already packing their bags. Come October, people, the Kedias and the rest will not. They will not have the voice to be pressing the head of state again. And,
thank you, Barrister.
And maybe at that time they'll join the opposition.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Barrister.
No, manipulated numbers. That's
it's okay.
Yeah.
Barrister, thank you for coming.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tah Javis. My message to the Cameroonian population is that we must know that this year is a year of change, and we all have a responsibility in bringing change. I think that that's the basic definition of democracy, which is simply a governance by the people and for the people. So the people must participate in the electoral process. So I am calling on the people to express what I'm going to call voters' intelligence. So voters' intelligence is the population, is the voter becoming more and more conscious of his duty to choose the right leader. There are so many political parties today, there are so many political actors, and we are doing our best to propose you what is necessary for a Cameroon which is independent, develop and prosperous. I think that together we shall be able to take Cameroon to higher heights, and we need to work together. In communism, we shall make Cameroon a great nation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. But you have thanked the head of state now.
Going back without thanking the head of state, the father of the nation, is it fair?
Okay, Keja, 5 seconds. Keja, 5 seconds for you.
How many of you, your parents,
Keja, you have 5. Keja, you have 5. Keja, you have 5 seconds. You have
served this nation.
Ke-
We should appreciate it.
Keja.
Thank him.
You have 5 seconds to thank the head of state.
Yes, I will thank the head of state for serving the nation for 42 years, and we are pleading on him again because without him we are hopeless. So that
Thank you for coming, gentlemen. This program will be rebroadcast at exactly 10:30 p.m. today. If you miss the program, you can go to our YouTube channel, which is BT Media Group or My Media Prime TV on YouTube. You can subscribe to both BT Media or My Media Prime. No matter the matter, what matters is your matter, and what should matter this day is that you should stay out of trouble. My name is Tah Mai Javis, Cameroon's commercial capital Douala. On to meet again. Bye bye.